Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Hidden behind the mundane veneer of a conventional bedroom was a haven of secrets, a sanctuary preserved for solitude. Though concealed, the essence of this place emanated an air of reverence rather than mere secrecy. Faced with the anticipation of another day, Marcus, a man entangled in the typical, took a cautious breath. His nerves tingled as he inhaled, acutely aware of the room tightening around him. Dressed in his daily uniform of gray slacks and a navy button-down, he stood before a full-length mirror, scrutinizing a face all too familiar, yet somehow foreign. His fingers combed restlessly through his short auburn hair, envisioning a different, freer self, unbound by societal expectations. As Marcus's thoughts wandered, his hand trembled as it reached for a concealed corner of his sanctuary, veiled behind coats with forgotten memories. The collection had grown slowly over years: a silk blouse bought during a business trip to Chicago, a pencil skirt ordered online during a late-night moment of courage, makeup tutorials watched in incognito mode. The doorbell chimed downstairs, triggering a rush of adrenaline. His mother was early. "Just a minute!" he called out, quickly sliding the closet door shut. Today was the day he'd finally have the conversation he'd rehearsed 100 times. His stomach twisted into knots as he descended the stairs. "Marcus, honey!" His mother, Patricia, stood in the doorway, holding a casserole dish, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a neat bun. "I brought your favorite, chicken and wild rice." She kissed his cheek as she bustled past him into the kitchen, her floral perfume lingering in her wake. "You didn't have to do that," he said, following her. "Nonsense! You sounded so serious on the phone." She set the dish on the counter and turned to face him, maternal concern etched across her features. "What's this important thing we need to discuss?" The rehearsed speech evaporated. His mouth felt dry, words sticking to his tongue like cotton.
"Let's eat first."
Dinner passed in a blur of small talk and evasion. Patricia chatted about church committees and neighborhood gossip while Marcus pushed rice around his plate, stomach too knotted to eat. When they finally moved to the living room with cups of coffee, Patricia set hers down firmly on the side table. "All right, Marcus. You've been fidgeting all evening. Whatever it is, just tell me." His coffee cup rattled slightly against the saucer as he set it down. "Mom, there's something I've been dealing with for a long time." Patricia's face remained neutral, waiting. "I've never felt right as Marcus." The words tumbled out, clumsy and inadequate. As a man. Understanding dawned slowly in his mother's eyes. "Oh," she said softly. Then, with more certainty, "Oh." "There's more," he continued, standing up. "I want to show you something." Patricia followed him upstairs to his bedroom, her footsteps hesitant behind him. The journey felt like miles rather than yards. At his bedroom door, he paused.
"I need you to understand that this is who I am,"
he said, hand on the doorknob. "This isn't a phase or a fetish or confusion." Patricia nodded, her expression unreadable. The bedroom looked ordinary. Navy bedspread, oak furniture, framed photography prints on the walls. Nothing revealed the truth until Marcus opened the closet door and pushed aside the row of men's dress shirts. Behind them hung dresses, blouses, and skirts, each selected with care.
"This is who I am, Mom."
His voice cracked.
"I've known since I was 15, but I've been too afraid to be honest."
Patricia's hand flew to her mouth, but she didn't speak. Her eyes traveled over the collection, lingering on an olive green wrap dress hung prominently in the center.
That's my favorite,
Marcus admitted.
I've never worn it outside the house.
His mother stepped forward, reaching out to touch the fabric. It would bring out the warmth in your hair, she said quietly, surprising him. Then she turned, eyes brimming with tears. How long have you been hiding this from me? Most of my life. The admission hurt, the truth of those wasted years heavy between them. Do you have a name? Patricia asked, her voice tentative. Dana. The name he'd chosen years ago in the privacy of his thoughts slipped out easily. I'd like to be called Dana. Patricia nodded slowly. Dana, she repeated, testing it out. It's pretty. The tension that had gripped Marcus, Dana, began to dissolve. This wasn't the screaming match or rejection she'd feared. Instead, her mother stood examining the clothes with a thoughtful expression. Have you tried everything on? Patricia asked suddenly. Yes, Dana admitted. But only here, alone. Patricia walked to the closet and removed the olive green wrap dress from its hanger. Put it on, she said. I want to see my daughter. The words, my daughter, sent a shock wave through Dana's system. She took the dress with trembling hands. Are you sure? I've missed so many years already, Patricia said, eyes glistening. I'd like to meet you properly. I'll need a few minutes. Patricia nodded and stepped out, closing the door behind her. Alone, Dana stripped off Marcus's clothes, each item removed, feeling like shedding a lie. The wrap dress slid over her shoulders with familiar comfort, the fabric embracing curves that were subtle but present thanks to a year of hidden hormone therapy. She added a padded bra, then stepped into ankle boots that added 3 inches to her height. Her auburn hair was too short to style femininely, but she applied light makeup, foundation, mascara, a touch of blush, and rose-colored lipstick. The mirror reflected someone truer than the stranger who had stood there earlier. Dana took a deep breath and opened the bedroom door. Patricia stood in the hallway, hands clasped tightly together. When she saw Dana, her eyes widened, not with disgust, but with recognition. You look like my sister when she was young, she said softly. The family resemblance. I can see it now. Dana hadn't expected that. Really? The eyes, the way you hold yourself. Patricia stepped forward, reaching out to adjust the collar of the dress. We should document this moment. Document? Your journey, Patricia explained. This is important, Dana. These first steps. Would you let me take some photos? The request seemed odd, but strangely touching. They'd be private, right? Dana asked, suddenly self-conscious. Of course, Patricia assured her. Just for us, to remember this day. Trusting her mother, Dana posed awkwardly by the window, then sitting at her vanity table, then standing beside the closet that had hidden her true self for so long. Patricia directed her gently, snapping photos with her smartphone, her expression a mixture of concentration and something that looked like pride. These are beautiful, Patricia said afterward, scrolling through the images. You're beautiful, Dana. The validation unleashed a lifetime of repressed emotion. Dana's composure cracked, tears spilling down her cheeks. I was so scared to tell you. Patricia enveloped her in a hug, careful not to smudge her makeup. I love you. That doesn't change. I just wish you hadn't carried this alone for so long. The evening transformed into something unexpected, a beginning rather than an ending. They talked for hours, Patricia asking questions about Dana's plans, her feelings, the journey ahead. When Patricia finally left, it was with promises to return soon to help with wardrobe decisions and makeup techniques. Dana fell asleep that night with a lightness she'd never known, the olive green dress hanging on the outside of her closet door. Visible, acknowledged, real. The betrayal came 3 days later. Dana's phone began buzzing incessantly during a morning meeting at work. As a systems analyst for a financial software company, Marcus, the identity she still maintained professionally, was expected to keep personal distractions to a minimum. She silenced the phone, focusing on the quarterly security protocol presentation. When the meeting ended, she found 17 text messages, 4 missed calls, and numerous social media notifications. The first text, from her college friend Renee, made her heart stop. "Did your mom seriously just out you on Facebook? Call me ASAP." Hands shaking, Dana opened Facebook to find her mother had created an album titled "Supporting My Child's Choices," with every photo from that private evening on display. Worse, Patricia had written a lengthy post about her son Marcus's journey to becoming Dana, tagging family members, church friends, and even a few of Marcus's work colleagues who'd once attended a company picnic. The betrayal was absolute. Each photo she'd posed for trustingly now displayed for everyone to see, complete with Patricia's commentary about how brave she was being as a mother. The post had dozens of comments ranging from supportive to horrified, all discussing Dana as though she were an exhibit rather than a person. The bathroom stall provided temporary sanctuary as panic took over. Her carefully constructed world collapsed around her. Marcus's identity, the shield she'd hidden behind, was shattered. Colleagues would see the photos, supervisors, clients. Everyone would know before she was ready to tell them. When the panic subsided enough for her to function, Dana called her mother. "Mom, what have you done?" Her voice sounded hollow, unrecognizable. "Dana, I thought you'd be pleased." Patricia sounded genuinely surprised. "Everyone is being so supportive." "You promised those photos were private," Dana said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "You had no right to share them without my permission." "But I'm proud of you," Patricia protested. "I'm showing my support publicly. Isn't that what parents are supposed to do?" "No, Mom. Parents are supposed to respect boundaries. You've outed me to everyone before I was ready." The enormity of it hit her again. My boss has probably seen those pictures by now. My coworkers, people I wasn't prepared to tell yet. Patricia's voice shifted from confused to defensive. "Well, I thought hiding was unhealthy. Now you don't have to pretend anymore." "That wasn't your decision to make." Tears threatened again, but Dana forced them back. "Take down the post. Now." "I don't understand why you're upset. Take it down!" The command echoed in the empty bathroom. "Fine," Patricia said, her tone wounded. "I was only trying to help." The damage, however, was done. Even if Patricia removed the post, dozens had already seen it, shared it, commented on it. The photos had been viewed, downloaded, possibly forwarded. There was no taking it back. Dana splashed cold water on her face and returned to her desk, where email notifications were already piling up. Colleagues sending supportive messages. HR requesting a meeting. Friends expressing various levels of surprise and confusion. The day blurred into a nightmare of damage control. HR was surprisingly understanding, assuring her that the company had policies protecting gender identity and expression. Her immediate supervisor, a woman in her 40s named Eleanor, stopped by her desk late in the afternoon. "Marcus, or would you prefer Dana?" she asked quietly. "Dana," she replied, the name still feeling new on her lips in this context. "But I wasn't planning to transition at work yet." Eleanor nodded sympathetically. "Your timeline got accelerated without your consent. That's not fair, but we'll support whatever you decide to do next." She hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth, you looked lovely in that green dress." The kindness nearly undid her. By the time Dana drove home, emotional exhaustion had replaced the initial shock. Her phone contained dozens of messages, some kind, some confused, some cruelly judgmental. She ignored them all and walked straight to her closet, staring at the collection of clothing that represented her true self. The secret was out. The worst had happened. And yet, somehow, she was still standing. With deliberate movements, she removed Marcus's navy button-down and slacks, folding them neatly and placing them in a drawer. Then she chose a simple black dress, professional enough for work, but unmistakably feminine. She laid it out for the morning, a decision made in the eye of the storm. If privacy was no longer an option, authenticity would have to be her armor. Morning arrived with a clarity that surprised her. Dana showered, taking time with each step of her routine. She applied makeup with steady hands, styled her short auburn hair as femininely as possible, and put on the black dress and ankle boots. The woman in the mirror looked scared, but determined, vulnerable, but unbowed. Patricia called just as she was leaving for work. Dana let it go to voicemail. Entering the office required a courage she didn't know she possessed. Conversations paused as she walked to her desk, but resumed quickly. Some colleagues stared, others deliberately looked away. A few smiled encouragingly. Eleanor met her halfway across the floor. "HR would like a word, but only to discuss how we can support your transition at work," she explained, walking alongside Dana. "And I've already sent a company-wide email reminding everyone of our zero-tolerance policy for discrimination or harassment." "Thank you," Dana said, throat tight with unexpected emotion. The meeting with HR was surreal but constructive. Name changes in the system, bathroom accommodations, a brief announcement to immediate team members to avoid awkward questions, all handled with businesslike efficiency. By lunchtime, the worst seemed over. Dana sat alone in the break room until Melissa from accounting slid into the seat across from her. "That dress is much more flattering than the green one," she said without preamble. "Black brings out the warmth in your auburn hair." The simple, normal comment, treating her transition as a matter of fashion rather than scandal, broke through the tension. Dana laughed, a genuine sound that surprised them both. "Thank you," she said. "I'm still figuring out what works." "Well, if you need shopping advice, I have excellent taste," Melissa offered, salting her salad. "And thick skin, if you need company for your first trip to the women's department." The unexpected ally made the afternoon bearable. By day's end, Dana had survived what should have been a traumatic workplace outing with her dignity intact. The fear that had ruled her life, the certainty that being discovered would mean rejection and ridicule, proved less absolute than she'd imagined. At home, she finally listened to her mother's voicemail. "Dana, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what I was doing. I don't know what I thought."
I took down the post, but I know that doesn't fix it. Please call me when you're ready. I love you.
The apology sounded genuine, but the violation still stung. Dana wasn't ready to forgive, but neither did she want to sever the relationship. She texted back, "I need time. What you did wasn't okay." Patricia responded immediately, "I understand. I'll wait until you're ready to talk." Exhausted but oddly peaceful, Dana examined her closet. Marcus's clothes hung on one side, her own collection on the other. The division suddenly seemed pointless. She began removing items, suits, ties, dress shirts, and placing them in bags for donation. Each piece removed felt like shedding another layer of pretense. By the time she finished, only women's clothing remained. The transformation of her closet mirrored the transformation of her life. Sudden, unplanned, irreversible, and strangely liberating. The following weeks brought challenges and unexpected gifts. Clients were informed of her name change with minimal explanation. Most either didn't care or were professionally polite. A few requested different representatives, which stung, but was ultimately manageable. Friends sorted themselves naturally, those who disappeared from her life, those who stayed with awkward support, and those who embraced her with unexpected warmth. Renee proved especially valuable, offering genuine friendship with no judgment and practical advice about navigating womanhood from someone who'd lived it her whole life. "The thing about being a woman," Renee explained over coffee 6 weeks after the Facebook incident, "is that it's not just about clothes or makeup. It's experiences, perspectives, the way the world treats you. You're going to encounter things Marcus never had to deal with." Dana nodded, already familiar with some of those differences. Men spoke over her in meetings now. Strangers commented on her appearance in ways that made her uncomfortable. She'd been followed once while walking to her car after work, a terrifying experience that ended when she ducked into a crowded restaurant. "But you're handling it with more grace than I expected," Renee continued, stirring her latte. "Most people would have broken down completely after being outed like that." "I almost did," Dana admitted. "But then I realized it was actually a gift, in a twisted way." "A gift? Your mother violated your privacy completely." "She did," Dana agreed. "And it was wrong, and I'm still working through that with her. But it forced me past the fear. I spent 17 years paralyzed by what might happen if people knew. Now they know, and I'm still here. I survived the thing I was most afraid of." Renee considered this, head tilted. "I never thought of it that way." "Neither did I, until it happened." Dana smoothed the fabric of her burgundy sweater dress. "I'm not saying it wasn't traumatic, but the aftermath taught me something important. Most people are too busy with their own lives to obsess over mine." 2 months after the Facebook post, Dana finally agreed to meet her mother for dinner. They sat across from each other at a quiet Italian restaurant, tension thick between them. "You look wonderful," Patricia said softly. "The length of your hair. It's growing out nicely." Dana touched her auburn hair, now long enough to brush her shoulders. "Thank you." The awkward silence stretched until their appetizers arrived. "I've been seeing a therapist," Patricia said suddenly, "to understand why I did what I did." Dana looked up, surprised. "And?" "It was about me, not you." Patricia set down her fork. "I was so focused on appearing supportive, on getting credit for being an accepting mother, that I completely disregarded your feelings." She swallowed hard. "It was selfish and inexcusable." The honest admission deflated some of Dana's lingering anger. "It hurt, Mom. It felt like you cared more about performing acceptance than actually giving it." "You're right. Patricia whispered. The therapist helped me see that I was treating your journey as an extension of my identity, not as your personal experience. She reached across the table, not quite touching Dana's hand. I'm truly sorry. Dana didn't immediately accept or reject the apology. Instead, she asked, Why the photos? Why did you insist on taking them, if not to share them? Patricia looked ashamed. Initially, it really was about documenting a milestone. But then, I started thinking about how I could show others what a supportive mother I was. How progressive. She shook her head. It's horrible to admit, but it became about my image, not your privacy. The honesty was painful but necessary. I appreciate you telling me the truth, Dana said finally. I'm not ready to fully trust you again, but I'd like to try rebuilding our relationship. I'd like that too, Patricia said, relief evident in her voice. However long it takes. They finished dinner with cautious conversation, a fragile bridge forming over the chasm of betrayal. When they parted, Patricia hugged her daughter briefly, whispering, You're extraordinary, Dana. Not because of your transition, but because of your courage in being authentically yourself. I hope someday to deserve being part of your journey. The words stayed with Dana as she drove home. A healing balm on old wounds. 6 months after being outed, Dana barely remembered what it felt like to live as Marcus. Her auburn hair now reached the middle of her back. Her hormone therapy had softened her features and redistributed her body's shape, and she moved through the world with increasing confidence. The olive green wrap dress, the catalyst for so much change, hung in her closet, unworn since that fateful evening with her mother. On the anniversary of her outing, Dana took it out and laid it on her bed. The fabric held memories of betrayal, but also of liberation. Her phone chimed with a text from Melissa, who had become a close friend and fierce advocate. Dinner still on for tonight? Tony's making his famous paella. Dana smiled and texted back, Absolutely. I'm wearing green. She slipped the dress over her head, adjusting it around her more feminine figure. The person in the mirror was wholly Dana now. No trace of Marcus remained, except in memory. The transformation wasn't just physical, but spiritual, an alignment of outer appearance with inner truth. As she fastened her ankle boots, Dana reflected on the irony of her situation. Her mother's betrayal, meant to showcase her own supportive parenting, had inadvertently given Dana the push she needed to live authentically. The very thing she had feared most, exposure, had ultimately freed her. The evening air felt cool against her skin as she walked to her car. A neighbor waved casually, a man who had known Marcus for years, but now greeted Dana without hesitation or awkwardness. Such simple acceptance would have seemed impossible a year ago. At Melissa and Tony's apartment, conversation flowed easily around the dinner table. No one commented on her dress or her identity. She was simply Dana, friend and dinner guest, a woman enjoying an evening with people who valued her company. Later, as Tony cleared plates and Melissa poured more wine, the conversation turned to Patricia. Have things improved? Melissa asked quietly. Slowly, Dana replied. She's trying. We're meeting for lunch every other Sunday. She still says the wrong thing sometimes, but now she listens when I correct her. That's progress, Melissa said. Rebuilding trust takes time. The strangest part is that I am almost grateful for what happened, Dana admitted. Not the betrayal itself, but the aftermath. It forced me to stop hiding. Melissa considered this, twirling her wine glass thoughtfully. Sometimes our worst moments create our best opportunities. Exactly, Dana agreed. I spent so many years afraid of being seen. Now I realize being seen, truly seen, was what I needed all along. Tony returned from the kitchen with dessert, and the conversation shifted to lighter topics. But the truth of Dana's revelation remained. Sometimes betrayal could be the catalyst for transformation. Her mother's actions had thrust her into visibility before she felt ready, but that very exposure had given her the courage to embrace her authentic self completely. Driving home later, Dana caught her reflection in the rear-view mirror, auburn hair falling in soft waves around her face, lipstick slightly faded from dinner and conversation. The woman looking back at her seemed both familiar and new, a person discovering herself day by day. The olive green dress no longer represented trauma, but transcendence. She had survived being exposed, and in that survival found freedom. Marcus's carefully constructed facade had crumbled, allowing Dana to emerge not in shadows, but in full, unapologetic light. At home, she hung the dress carefully in her closet, no longer hidden behind winter coats, but prominently displayed. It had become a symbol of her journey, not the destination but the pathway, with all its unexpected turns and painful revelations. Dana ran her fingers through her auburn hair, marveling at its length and the way it framed her face. The physical changes of her transition were significant, but the internal transformation mattered most. She had found the courage to live without apology or disguise, to walk through the world as herself. The journey ahead would have its challenges. Relationships would continue to evolve, including the fragile rebuilding with her mother. Society would not always be kind, but Dana had weathered the storm she feared most and emerged stronger for it. The betrayal that could have destroyed her had instead become the foundation for a more authentic life. In losing her carefully guarded privacy, she had gained the freedom to be completely, unapologetically herself. And that, she realized as she prepared for bed, was a gift beyond measure, finding strength in vulnerability, purpose in pain, and ultimately, liberation in being truly seen.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!